It's as complicated as ever on Capitol Hill as debate rages on for hot topic issues like the border, funding for foreign aid, and more. To give us a peek at the bigger picture, we're getting an update from the Capitol from our own Congressman. Representative Tom Cole joins me in studio. Thank you so much for being here today.
It's great to be with you.
It's good to see you again as well. Well, we've got so many things to talk about, so let's just jump right in. Lawton will soon be home to the nation's first cobalt refinery. Opposition has been growing, and recently the native tribes have chimed in and said, you know, hey, you guys didn't even talk to us, didn't give us the courtesy of a heads up. What do you say about this?
Well, first of all, no question the country needs the facility, but there are legitimate environmental concerns here in the community. There are lots of permits to get. No site has been selected. The financing's unclear. So I think this is one of those things you just work through. And at the end of the day, you find out whether or not you can reach a decision that makes sense for both the community and the company. The reality is they can go a lot of different places. And so folks have every right to be concerned and express their opinions. But again, we still have the departments of the environment, both nationally and locally, would have to sign off on this. You'd have to have some measure of local support. And it's my understanding the financing hasn't all been put together either. So again, I think we're a ways away from the final decision.
Okay, now, as you are co-chair of the National Native American Caucus, so how do you feel about what the tribes have recently said?
Look, I'm a big believer in tribal sovereignty, and I respect their right to express an opinion, and they should be part of the consulting process. So again, I think they raise legitimate points, and I would hope in time that if this process does indeed move forward, that their concerns are addressed along with everybody else's in line.
Are you aware of any of the environmental questions that have been put out there?
Sure. Again, we don't have any facilities like this in the country, so there's quite legitimately concerns about water, concerns long term. We've got a lot of agriculture in this area, and people are worried about whether or not this would in some way endanger cattle operations and what have you. So again, if you don't answer those questions to the affirmative in a way that convinces people, I don't think you're in a very good position to proceed.
Okay then. Now the southern border, hot topic, so much going on there and all. First thing, just right off the bat, this is America. We have a lot of empty spaces, a lot of buildings that are just sitting idle. Why not let everybody in?
Well, first of all, we let 1 million people in legally every year, and they work very hard, and they go through screening backgrounds, and they bring great things. But no one is allowed to cross our border without our permission, period. And we have, in this tidal wave of humanity that's been coming up, and this is a Biden-created crisis in my view. But look, we have fentanyl coming across in record number that's killing tens of thousands of young people. We have record human trafficking coming across. We have people that are on the terrorist watch list that we know have gotten in, others who are, you know, gotaways that we don't know. If you won't let us catch you, then you're probably not here for a very good reason. So look, the American people, the former Secretary of Homeland Security in the Obama administration, a guy named Jay Johnson, wonderful guy, great public servant, once was asked, what's the crisis on the southern border? He said, anytime we have more than 1,000 illegal entries a day, that's a crisis. We're having about 10 to 12,000 every day. So we were not having that 3 years ago. The president reversed almost every Trump policy, remain in Mexico, which said you have to wait there until you prove you're eligible for asylum, building the wall, all the catch and release. He ended all those things. So the author of this crisis was the president, and if he'll start reversing the decisions he made, I think he'd find a lot of support. But until then, frankly, nobody trusts him to fix a problem he created.
Governor Abbott has instituted the where they supposedly, or if they think that a person is a legal immigrant, they can be detained. But does this not lead to racial profiling? How are they going to tell who is illegal and who isn't? I
actually don't think it does. You have to remember, Texas is about 40%. It's heavily Hispanic. There are a lot of Hispanic folks there. And most of them support what Governor Abbott is doing. They don't see this as directed at them. They see it as directed at people that are coming in illegally. They're competing for jobs. They're, in some cases, criminals. Not every case, but certainly some. And again, you know, in some cases, they're associated with the drug cartels. So I think Texas has every right to try and protect itself. And I think most people in this part of the world see that as the governor of Texas operating in the interests of Texas, because the federal government's not doing the job it's supposed to do.
Where's the line drawn? You have a governor who is defying what the president and what the Supreme Court is saying. They've got the Constantine wire up. I mean, you're putting people in danger. Where is the line between you're not in line with what the government is saying do?
Well, you know, again, you go back to court again, and in the end, you can litigate these things a variety of different ways. But in the meantime, you know, a governor protecting his own state and his own borders and enforcing a law that the federal government has but will not enforce itself. You know, I find it hard to be critical of Governor Abbott for doing something like that. I would expect my own governor to protect my state against a massive tidal wave of illegal immigration and do everything he could to protect his own citizens. So, again, we'll continue to hassle this out. The most important thing, again, if the president would simply reverse policies that he put in place or reinstitute policies that Trump had put in place, say, hey, you know, we tried something different, didn't work. We're going to go back to remain in Mexico. We're going to go back to building the wall. It works. We're going to go back to, if we apprehend you, you stay in detention. We don't just release you and let you go anywhere you want in the country and say you got a court date in 3 years that you may or may not show up for. So again, the Biden policies on the border have failed. Governor Abbott is reacting to a crisis the president created.
Now, of course, our governor has sent down the National Guardsmen down there and stuff. What are they doing exactly? What's their role?
I think they're assisting. First of all, they don't have any power to arrest anybody, so they're not involved in anything like that. What they can bring to both Texas and, frankly, our own people that are on the border, our Border Patrol, is sophisticated communications, additional eyes and ears, additional help in processing the clerical part of that, so agents can go back and do their job, which is apprehending people, and that's perfectly appropriate. We've been sending National Guard down there as a federal government under President Bush, President Obama, you know, President Trump, now under President Biden. So again, I don't think what Governor Stitt's doing is anything other than trying to be a good neighbor to his friend in Texas, Governor Abbott, and to the people of Texas who, by the way, when we go through tornadoes, send a lot of help up here.
One last question. Of course, we saw that there was a bite back for Senator Lankford recently. Where did you stand on that when he was being bipartisan to try to get something done?
Well, there's nothing wrong with him trying to be bipartisan. I think the problem here was the Senate didn't include the House. You know, if you're going to pass it, we are an equal body. We don't exist like you negotiating a deal and then we send it and we just put the rubber stamp on it. It's a Democratic Senate, Republican House. That's not going to happen. So number one, the negotiation should have included members of both chambers. Number two, they should, in my view, have worked through regular order. That is, go through the committee process so more people knew more about it. I think they could have been educated along the way. But I'm not critical of Senator Lankford. Look, he did the job his caucus asked him to do. He negotiated the best he could. But at the end of the day, it didn't work because they couldn't pass it. So if they can't pass it, it clearly wasn't the right answer.
Okay, then. Thanks so much for being here
Thank
today.
you. It's a privilege.
Always love it. We'll be right back.